What's up, everybody? I just got back from what was a longer than expected day on the golf course, and it was pretty frustrating to watch a group pedal around to a 5 hour round. But all that was gone when I got in the car, looked at my phone, and saw that Oregon basketball had landed a commitment from Kwame Evans Jr., KJ Evans. I think he also goes by in the class of 2023. He is the number two overall player in the ESPN 300. Not a full episode here, just a little instant reactions emergency pod, as so to speak, for a few minutes. But this is huge because Oregon basketball recruiting had started to go in a negative direction with the decommitment of Mookie Cook. You also lost Dior Johnson. I wasn't as concerned about Dior because I think he would have been a one and done with the Ducks and transferred to another program anyway. But losing Mookie Cook was a gut punch because that was at the time the second highest rated recruit in Oregon basketball history. Now Evans claims that title. A couple things to look at here off the top of my head as I react to this news. First of all, Oregon getting the second best player in the 2023 recruiting cycle. I mean, the number two player in the class, not number two at his position, not number two in a state, number two overall is just a really big deal. Only guy who's come to Oregon basketball that's been rated higher was a Bull back in the class of, I believe it was 2018 and such. But Evans is a power forward, 6'10, 7'2 wingspan, can shoot. He's a lefty, I believe. Haven't done a ton of work on him right now, but this is just a big deal for recruiting to just turn the momentum around and get it going in a positive direction. And number two, now all eyes are back on Mookie Cook. So he decommitted from Oregon, and he said in his statement is a lot of recruits who decommit from a school after having verbally committed often do that they're still considering that same school. And that's been the case with Mookie Cook. There have been some crystal balls actually pushing him towards Oregon, but this is one of the strangest basketball or football recruitments, frankly, that I can remember playing out for Oregon. Because what you have here is when Mookie Cook committed, right? He was the second highest rated recruit in program history. And then there was speculation, and I talked about it here on the show about whether or not he would, help in recruiting Kwame Evans Jr., one of the top players. Because Cook, I believe, is number 5 overall in the class of 2023 nationally in the ESPN 300, and Evans is number 2. And so the thought was, well, if you have Mookie Cook, maybe he will help. And Cook said in an interview that he'd like to play with Evans, and that was going to be something he'd help Oregon with, in a sense, is recruiting Evans to come to Eugene. But then Cook decommits, and then without him there, Evans now commits to Oregon, and so now it's going to go back the other way, right? The way you should look at Oregon basketball recruiting right now is Mookie Cook going to recommit to the University of Oregon? Because then what you would have is two of the top 5 players in the country in the class of 2023. And basketball, I think even more so than football, is kind of about tag team recruiting because true freshmen can make an impact a lot easier on the basketball court than they can on the football field. Not just because they're one of 5 guys on the court as opposed to one of 11 at a time or one of 22 that play consistently, whereas basketball, it's 8 or 9, but also just the nature of the sport and how involved you can be in a given game. It's why these true freshmen are, able to be one and done. Now there's some football players who can be one and done and have NFL ready bodies when they get out of high school and maybe just need one season or whatnot. But NCAA football rules require them to stay for at least 3 seasons on campus. But this is just fascinating, right? It's just done such a 180, and this is a great development for Dana Altman and company, big time prospect. And if he's able to get Cook to come back to Oregon, that 2023-24 team would have an outrageous amount of hype. This year should be really good too. You've got Kel Elware, one of the 10 or 20 best players in the class of 2022. Will Richardson's coming back. You've got Keyshawn Barthelemy and Jermaine Couisnard, the guards coming in to provide depth and experience as well in the backcourt. And Folly Dante's there. Quincy Guerrier's back. A lot of excitement for this year, but these are next level sort of players that Oregon's going after. And if If Evans is able to choose Oregon, then there's no reason to suggest right now that Mookie Cook couldn't once again decide that Oregon is the right place for him, as he did once, and hopefully they will be able to. Exciting stuff on the basketball recruiting front. We will continue to follow it along as always, which is why you should like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this little 5-minute emergency pod right now. Appreciate everyone listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.